The most obvious, sorry to state the obvious, but AI. I have to admit, in 2012, I wasn't thinking about AI. I was probably
Well,
unknowingly using it with various tools where it was embedded, right? Whether I was on a chat bot with my credit card company or an airline or, AI's been out there in various fashions. I wasn't thinking about its utility in my business. It's been the past 3 years that we've been deeply diving into AI as a powerful, powerful tool to make us more efficient in our business.
welcome to another episode of the Freight Forward podcast. My name is Matt Dixon, and I'm joined by Steve Harren today. He's the president of Brandpoint Services. And Steve, thanks for joining us today. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be on our podcast.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, why don't you tell me a little bit about Brandpoint Services and what you guys do? It seems like you do a lot.
We do a lot, and so it's not the easiest question in the world. We've lately simplified it down to the 4 R's. We repair, we remodel, we reset, and we refresh facilities. And so, that's probably the easiest, simple way to remember what it is we do. We touch all 50 states and Canada. We have over 100 full-time employees and a few thousand subcontractors in the field that are, loyal to us, vetted by us, long-time relationships. We've been doing this over 20 years now, so we've got a pretty deep resources. And it's part of what our clients like the best about us because if they're doing a rollout of any sort or they want every location impacted, and we have clients that have over 15,000 locations, they know they can count on us to roll it out the same way in Seattle as it gets done in Miami.
That sounds like my engineer brain has seen all the challenges that you guys and problems you guys have solved. So that's pretty interesting to me. So you were with the company, you started at 2012, is that right?
I stepped into the company as president in 2012. That's right. So yeah, I'm coming up on 15 years.
Wow, nice. So what made you join Brand Select? Or sorry, what made you join Brandpoint Serv? Sorry, I can't read.
That's okay.
What
It's a
what
lot of
made you
syllables.
join? Yeah. What was the key factor in making you join Brandpoint Services? What did you want to solve? What did you want to do?
I had been serving as the vice president of franchise development for CertaPro Painters for 7 years leading up to this. And CertaPro Painters at the time actually owned Brandpoint. Brandpoint was basically the commercial division for CertaPro. And at the same time, I had a very close friend of mine from my career, my earlier days of my career, who's now my business partner, a guy named John St. Pierre. And he had been doing national rollouts of digital signage and kiosks and cabling, low voltage electrical programs with a little boutique company that he was operating with his partner at the time, and now my partner, a man named Michael Hirsch, out of Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And I really saw the opportunity for this, national centralized function to help orchestrate for other brands changes in their physical locations. And so with CertaPro, we sort of brought that concept in and called it Brandpoint. And I just loved it because there were so many streams of revenue in various sectors, whether it was restaurant, whether it was retail, whether it was hospitality, healthcare. Yet you could diversify across sectors and you could diversify across clients, and it was repetitive in nature. And I just really thought it was such a neat business model. And so when the opportunity presented itself that Brandpoint was looking to change in direction and wanted a new leader, I was happy to throw my hat in the ring and I'm very grateful that I was selected to be a part of it.
Excellent. So since you were diversified across industries, what effect did COVID have on you guys?
Pretty significant, pretty
Did it?
significant, but this speaks to how diverse we are, or diversified, I should say, because what really saved us was a couple of key things. We had 100 clients. several of whom went bankrupt during that time, which was
Mm.
very scary. But across our client base, there were a couple key things that happened that saved us. Number one of our largest clients very quickly was deemed essential by the government. And that client has over 15,000 locations, and they needed sneeze shields at every register in all 15,000 locations fast because their employees were refusing to go to work. So that program alone propelled us through April, May, and June, which were really difficult months for just about everybody in my world. And that program really, really, really gave us a chance to throw everybody at that. Because normally we wouldn't normally execute 15,000 locations in 3 months. Don't get me wrong, we can, but we didn't have a lot else going on. So we were able to save people's jobs, throw them at that program, and knock that out of the park for this client that has now become, significant amount of our revenue annually and is a very deep partnership. The second thing that was helpful, ironically, because it was a tough thing going on in society, the riots were taking place, a lot of civil unrest, we'll say, in various cities around North America. And we were getting called in to board up cities in advance of the civil unrest that was taking place because it was sort of scheduled civil unrest. We would go in and we would board up our clients' locations to protect them. And then we'd have to go back and board down or clean up glass or clean up mess or clean up graffiti. And so, again, I certainly don't wish to profit off of somebody's misfortune, but I take pride in being there to protect my clients. And so those two things really helped get us through the most difficult phase of COVID. And then we just sort of rebuilt as our clients started coming back online. We did other things like cleaning that we wouldn't normally do, deep cleaning, we were calling it. Um, just doing everything we could to support our clients getting back in business themselves.
Yeah, yeah, I think a lot of people were scrambling when their world turned upside down, right?
It was a scary
Uh,
time.
yeah, it was. Uh, so between 2012 and today, what changes have you seen in your business and I guess business in general?
Well, a couple things. The most obvious, sorry to state the obvious, but AI. I have to admit, in 2012, I wasn't thinking about AI. I was probably unknowingly using it with various tools where it was embedded, right? Whether I was on a chat bot with my credit card company or an airline or, AI's been out there in various fashions, but I wasn't thinking about its utility in my business. And really, um, it's been the past 3 years that we've been, you know, deeply diving into AI as a powerful, powerful tool to make us more efficient in our business. And so that's probably number one answer. Um, Number two, other technology, Matterport cameras have been a big, they're not paying me to say this, a free plug for them, but powerful, powerful tool. And look, if my competition isn't using them, they really should be. It's a big investment. They're not cheap. These are not, $9.99 at Walmart kind of thing. These are significant pieces of equipment that I can put in the middle of any room or space, no matter how large. Just need a bigger camera. And they have small cameras for small spaces and bigger cameras for bigger spaces. And I can get a complete digital rendering 360 to be able to then send my clients so that I can save my clients money and time when normally they would have to go out themselves and visit the site to get all the information that we can capture for them with one of my local people in that market just by setting up a Matterport camera. So, that type of
Interesting.
technology in my world is very helpful because it's all about the state of the space. My clients call me because they want something to happen in the space. Everything from a leaky faucet all the way up to completely convert the space to something different. Could be a dental office and we changed it into a cell phone store.
Yeah, interesting. Well, you mentioned chatbots. Back in 2012, they were just algorithmic, right? It was just a decision tree, and then it might spit you out at the end.
Yeah.
But now it's true AI, where well, we're not quite to AI, but we're almost to intelligence, right? It's It's much better. It's night
Yeah,
and day.
sure.
I've been working with Claude Code at writing software, so I don't write any code anymore. I just fire up Claude Code and I chat with it, and agents will go and build the code and test it and deploy it and do all the things. So it's wild. That's my world. So how has AI? How are you guys using AI in your business right now?
In a number of ways, anything repetitive. That's what we keep asking we continue to survey our team and ask them, well, part of your job's repetitive. What tasks are you finding menial that you're having to do over and over and over again? And then we just make a case for it and we push it over to IT and we go, let's go. So a lot of that happens in invoicing. A lot of that happens in our estimating processes. We're using AI to create takeoffs where we normally would have done it by hand. A lot of it comes in routing our teams who are on the road, and we can simply ask AI. I have a team of 4 people who are going to need X amount of hotel rooms in X amount of states in X amount of days, and we got to factor in traffic and we have to factor in weather and all this stuff. Map out the most logical route for them. Things like this, all the way to, hey, we encourage people that if you have a business challenge with a client that you don't know what to do about, ask AI. You're allowed to have a conversation and just say, gee, I have this really big challenge. My client's upset because, they think this, and this. Here's the actual situation. They're saying this, and this. What's the best way for me to respond? And it's amazing what it comes up with. Um, it's
Yeah,
really just
yeah, I like that.
never ending source of amazement for me.
Yeah, I've heard the phrase "not knowing how to do something is no longer an issue."
Yeah.
All you have to do is you need to ask.
Well, and Matt, a lot of my teams, the ones that I employ directly, aren't carrying tools. They're managing projects that require tools, but they're not the ones carrying the tools. And so for them, you know, obviously they're always trying to study and stay sharp on what's happening in the field. But when they come across a problem now in the field that somebody says, well, gee, we need this piece of equipment here, but the electrical source is over there, or, this type of plumbing or this type of water here. Like you said, there's no excuse not to know now. All they have to do is sit behind their desk and say, hey, tell me about this piece of equipment. And what do I need to know? And they can become, I don't know about an expert, but they can become quite knowledgeable very quickly.
Yeah, I'm finding too that clients really need software customized. So that's where I think the big win is going to be for the mid market companies. For instance, you talked about your team is chatting with AI about something. Well, if you have an app that knows all the other information about the store or the facility or the problem, then it's a quick question instead of preloading it with all the data that they're speaking to AI. So that's kind of the superpower that I see small businesses gaining
Mhm.
in the near term future here. So you have a lot of enterprise level clients, right? Capital One and Planet Fitness and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what does it look like when those two disparate companies want a dashboard to view things that are important to them?
So for us, it's very specific to trade at trade type orientation, if you will. And so perfect example would be right now for a large retail client. We are putting the product that is competing with, I'll just say we're a competitive product with Gatorade is being put on an end cap on a shelf at thousands and thousands of locations. And there's a very strict schedule and timeline for it because they can't start ringing a cash register for this new product until it's up and running. So this client is very interested in how that schedule unfolds as quickly as possible. We can create any custom dashboard for a client. This would be the most comprehensive where they can pull up in real time and see how many locations are scheduled this week, how many have been completed so far this week, how many have we invoiced them for, how many are scheduled for next week, how many are on hold because of material shortage, how many are, right on down the line, anything the client wants to see with the tools that we use, our custom tools, at any time a client can see that. Another one would be on the break fix side. We could show a client a dashboard of whether we're hitting our SLAs, our service level agreement. So, did we get out within 3 hours, if that's the agreement that we have to the client? How many calls did we get that were level one? And level one, let's say, is a 3 hour response time. How many level one calls came in today? How many did we hit? Another big one is sign in or IVR compliance so that we acknowledge that we were physically at the job site. What percent of jobs were we doing that? Anything the client wants to track. Mm, there are similar threads among our clients, but every client is a little different. And we pride ourselves in being able to customize dashboards for anybody.
Is that a long process? I'm just thinking all the different types of data and where it comes from. Does it come from the same data source? I
Yeah,
just
it does. It's
right,
really,
right.
it's really not. I have to say again, another free plug for a partner here, but service chan or excuse me, Salesforce is a very, very powerful tool. And we have put, 10 plus years of customizations into it so that it's a start to finish solution for any of our clients. From the time we engage a client in our marketing and we get them on our radar as a prospect to a lead, to a qualified lead, to a proposal sent, to, back into estimating, now back to a new proposal. We trace that whole life to on the job site, and now we're closing out the job and we're invoicing and we're following. Salesforce will track that all the way through holistically, and it's a very powerful tool.
No, interesting. Yeah, I did a little bit of Salesforce work back in the day, but it's been a while. I know they do have a good platform there.
I wish I would have
Um,
invested in the stock 10 years ago. Instead, I just gave them my money.
I know that you don't know what's going to be a big hit until it's a big hit.
Right. Yep.
Uh, yeah, there were like probably 5 or 10 to choose from,
Right.
and you could have picked wrong or you could have picked right. So tell me, you talked about scoping and quoting. Tell me how that works with your current system. You said you use AI in that? How's that being used?
We do. So, a lot of the work we do, the job sizes are very, very small. We do thousands and thousands of jobs where we're just going out and it's a trip charge of $150 or $250, depending on the situation. And there's no scoping necessary. Or we'll have an hourly rate card and we'll say, all right, for the plumber to come out, it's, you know, $85 an hour. And he was out for 4 hours. It's very straightforward. But on the project side of the business, we typically have to provide an estimate of what the cost will be and then get an okay from the client to move forward. And again, on a simple paint job, maybe it's not as complicated, but for a complete remodel or a fit out where there are 6, 7, 8, 9 trades involved, and the project could be $500,000 or more, we can feed the plans and the scope into AI, and then AI can generate takeoffs for us, and we can, break it all down by trade and see what trades are needed for exactly what the square footages are, and it's just a lot of things that we would have normally had to knuckle bust can now come back to us in the matter of minutes or less.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. So what are some big do you get sucked into fires a lot being president, or are you able to focus on the strategy?
So we've adopted EO. That's a great question. We've adopted EOS. I don't know if you're familiar with the book Traction, but we've really adopted that model where we force ourselves as an executive team out of the business quarterly. We meet every Monday to talk about the week to week for sure. But we also then go off site quarterly and we get out of the business and look at the data, look at the facts, look at what our big challenges are, and get into the problem solving of those challenges, come out with solutions, and then come into that next quarter, implement, implement, implement. And now we're back to a weekly cadence where, yep, we have a scoreboard or a dashboard, but we're also circling back and saying, what do we say in the last quarterly meeting that we were going to get done? And that that was as revolutionary of a change in my business as any of the technology. Operating that way was a new thing for us 2 years ago, and it's not a coincidence that last year was the best year in the history of the company, and this year will be an even better year. Yes, technology is a factor, but that operating model, I can't recommend highly enough.
Yeah, they tend to go hand in hand. Are you working with an EOS implementer or are you guys doing it yourself?
So I'm very grateful that we employ an EOS implementer,
There
and
you go.
she's been amazing. She was screaming from the rooftops 3 years ago that we needed to do this, and it took us a year too long to listen. But once we got it rolling, she led the way, and her name is Joanne Ruff, and she's a rock star, and she really helped us get this implemented top to bottom.
Yeah, change is hard.
It
So
is.
I totally get that. No one likes change, but everyone likes the idea of change if it's their idea.
That's right. That's right. So true.
Uh, Excellent. So is there anything I forgot to ask or you'd like me to ask?
No, other than I guess, we are growing. We are not satisfied with where we are. We are literally 10 times bigger than we were in 2012. And I don't know that think we can get 10 times bigger than we are right now in the next 5 years, but we do think we could get to a half a billion, which would be, about 5 times the size we are right now. And so there's wonderful opportunities here for people that are driven, that love to solve problems, that love to serve other clients and provide solutions in challenging situations. And no 2 days are the same. So it's an exciting job that nobody really rolls a bed looking for. But I definitely want the message out there that we're a growing company, and that if anybody finds any of this at all interesting, they should reach out to us.
Yeah. So who would be your ideal client? What type of companies are you looking to help?
Um, and I was referring more on the employee side because we're always looking for great talent, but
Okay.
certainly then on the client side, of course, our ideal client has hundreds or even thousands of locations with a central decision making function, because that's typically who needs us. Somebody that's sitting in Chicago or Dallas or New York having to execute on thousands of locations generally needs a partner like us to help them do that.
Excellent. And if people want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
www.brandpointservices.com is the best way. They can find me on LinkedIn as well. Steve Harren, Stevehearon, at Brandpoint Services, and we have our own page on LinkedIn as well. That's probably the easiest.
Yeah, very good. Well, thanks for joining me. I sure appreciate it. I really enjoyed our chat, and we'll catch you guys again next time.
All right, thanks again for having me on, Matt.